Hi there, Glenn here. Hey, I'm not really a fan of people who say that they're going to do something and then don't follow through when they said they were going to do it. And right now, that's me. What's got two thumbs and is behind on their schedule? This guy. Well, I gave the impression that this channel, The People's Carpenter, would be in full swing by now. And not that I've developed a following or anything, so no one really knows that it's late, but it is late. The reason it's late is this one project, this garden shed. Do I go into the details? Okay, I'll go into the details. I was going to make these weatherboards, and I don't have a very large benchtop router, but there are some bits I was going to try out, like this raised panel bit, which could potentially do the job, from Temu, which I don't have a problem with in principle, and I may say more about Temu at other points in this channel, but this bit was rubbish. It didn't work. Not very sharp, not very good. So I've ordered another one, but it's going to take a little while to arrive, so I've decided not to go with that method of building weatherboards after all, so all that delay was for nothing, and I've started today making the weatherboards. In fact, you can see them sitting here. But yeah, so that little mini drama is the reason why this channel is delayed in getting started. So, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So I'm just going to use the small amount of footage that I've got already of this shed build, because I didn't record the whole thing because I wasn't going to use it in this channel. It's not really the kind of thing that's going to feature in this channel, building structures. This is going to be more about building furniture, some fine woodworking, talking about life, mental well-being, all that kind of thing. So shed building doesn't fit into that. But as a way of saying, hey look, I'm sorry about the delay, and about filling the channel with something in the meantime, other than me rambling on now and explaining myself. This is me building a shed. Here's the nut I'm going to crack just now. So I've got the rafters for the roof attached to the framing, and there's going to be a further rafter on each end, a floating or flying rafter out to the side, so the roof overhangs the building, and across the end of the rafters will be one of these, the end plate for the rafters. But the trick is, how am I going to get this onto the end of these rafters? There's only one of me, so what I've had to do is build a pair of helping hands, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with these. So that's how these helping hands, as I've called them, are going to work. One sits on that end and the other is way down there, and I'll just be able to rest the piece on those, which will give me the flexibility of being able to maneuver the piece into place and nail it on. Watch and see. And there it is. It's not nailed in place, but it's just being held roughly in the right location, so I can now maneuver this. And I will need two hands for the job, so I won't record the actual nailing. I can now just maneuver that into place and nail it on. I had the camera on the wrong setting. It was on high speed from a previous video that I recorded, so it didn't record properly. Now this thing's already been cut out and I'm about to explain it to you. So this is a doorway. There's the sun, and incidentally it was raining, but I wanted to make a video, so I made the video in the rain, and then I finished the video and the sun came out properly and it stopped raining. But anyway, so this is a doorway, and you want to cut the bottom piece out because you don't want a piece of wood in your doorway. That would be silly. But you don't want to cut the floor. So how are you going to cut that out without cutting the floor? Well, before I assembled the framing, I put this cut in, and there's also a cut on the underside that goes all the way through, because it wasn't the underside before. It's only the underside now that it's been set up right. So now I was able to just take my hand saw and cut from the top about halfway through, and that was enough. What I want to do now is put the floating rafters on each end of the roof, and that's going to be a little bit tricky, or at least it would without some kind of workaround. And my workaround is to once again use a sort of helping hand ad hoc device, which I will screw onto the end plate, and then I can rest the end of the rafter on that while I nail it onto the battens, thus securing it in place, and then I can also nail it onto the end plate. It was forecast to be a rainy day. It doesn't really look like it. Given that it hasn't eventuated, I've got up onto the roof of the shed that I'm building, and I've put the wire down. Next time I'm up here, it'll be the black paper and then the corrugated sheets, and then the roof will be done. So the time has come to turn these rather nice pieces of Japanese cedar into weatherboards. Just like that. And there they are, the finished weatherboards, or at least the profile is now finished. They're still slightly over length, and I will cut those once I have done a more precise measurement of where they are going. So it's late summer here in New Zealand, in the beautiful, very warm Wairarapa upper region, so it's the perfect time of year to get these boards outside. I've got them sitting on a couple of sawhorses and paint them with some stain. I'm using Aquamax stain. I'm a little bit confused about some finishes because that's by no means my strong point. It says that it's water-based. Yes, I'm pretty sure it says that somewhere. Yeah, water-based, but it's also suspended in linseed oil, which is definitely not water-based. I don't really know how that works, and I'm not interested enough to research it just now. Maybe I will one day, whatever. But it's a really nice finish. You can use it on fences and sheds and decks. I've used it on decks before, but you can also use it on finer pieces of woodworking. I used their red one on a guitar that I built, and it just looks great. So anyway, I'm putting on a couple of coats. I'm just slathering it on first of all, getting good coverage, and then once that's dried, which doesn't take very long at all in this warm weather, it's almost 30 degrees Celsius today I think, and then I put on a second coat, and it's really not rocket science. Now, you don't install weatherboards directly onto the weatherproofing that's on the framing. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't, because moisture can get trapped behind them that way, and that will only encourage deterioration. So you add space between the framing and the weatherboards by using battens. Now, I always thought that this nail gun was kind of overkill for putting in weatherboards. Maybe a bit too powerful, but people in online forums said, look, just go ahead and use it anyway, since this is just a one-off job and you don't want to go buying a smaller nailer for this purpose. And I agree with that, but yeah, it's definitely a very powerful approach. The next challenge is going to be this window. So what I'll do is I'll put a full-size board on the very bottom part of the window, and then I'll cut through that board as required. That should be all right. Okay, I've made a surround for the window, and that serves several functions. One, the top part of the surround enabled me to easily attach a rather large flashing that I've built to stop any water getting into the top part of the window. But also just having a surround enables me to conceal any ragged edges around the window and to protect those from what a builder would call water ingress. At some stage I'll put one on the bottom as well, although that's not particularly urgent because water doesn't go up. Okay, on with the show. I had switched from using my nail gun to just using a hammer and nail because the nails were being hammered in just so far that they were causing damage. But I have learned something in this process, that I can adjust the tip of my nailer so that they don't go in that far. There is still some damage to the surface there caused by the type of tip I have. I will go around and touch those up with some stain afterwards. I have a couple of lid light windows that I want to put above the door. Now, these are not really the whole window if you count like the frame and the reveal and everything. This is just the part of the window that opens out on a hinge, and it sits within, well, it's sat within a wider frame that I don't have. I don't need these to be opening windows, so I don't have to reconstruct the entire frame. But I do need to come up with a way of being able to fit these into the wall frame. So, I'm thinking about that. Gluing these two smaller windows into one large object has gone really well. It's a nice solid result. I'm just doing some little touch-ups now. There was a small piece of wood breaking off which I'm gluing and clamping there, and I'm scraping off any obvious bits of loose paint, and then I'll give the whole painted surface a scuff with my sander, which produces a better surface for repainting over. You don't have to sand a wooden surface right back to the wood if you're just going to paint over it again. Just a secure scuffed up surface that isn't going to peel off is ideal, so that's what I'll do. This is going to be a tight fit. I'm going to try to put this LED light window into the space for it. Wish me luck. think it's going in. So this shed is just about finished, and I'm going to stop this video here, and there are a few reasons for that. So the next few parts of this project that I haven't done yet are firstly making the panelling for the triangular sections above the weatherboards on what I'm calling the left and the right of the shed. I'm going to make a plywood floor. Oh, I don't have the wood for that panelling yet, that's why I haven't done it. I'm going to make a plywood floor for the inside, and I'll put some waterproofing down and then put some plywood down. I don't have that yet either, and it's not very exciting anyway. I'll just do that when I've got the materials. And I'm going to build flashings for the corners of the building once the panelling is up in those top sections. And lastly, I'm going to make what I think is going to be a pretty cool sliding barn door, but we don't have to wait for that before I move on to the main channel that I've been promising is going to be up and running soon. And that's because I decided that would actually make a pretty cool project on the People's Carpenter. So I'll kill two birds with one stone. I suppose it's only one bird. No, it's two. I don't know. You can decide. But anyway, the video about making this shed is now drawing to a close. I do apologise that not that many people have been sitting out there waiting and getting annoyed with me, but I do apologise to myself that I have taken so long to get the People's Carpenter properly up and running. But the first real episode is the next one that you will see. Until then, I'm Glenn Peebles.